If you are an Asian or white kid who defends affirmative action, let me just say it, you are a race traitor. You are a legitimate traitor to your race. Liberal VinceDao, okay, the liberal doppelganger of myself, had an absolute meltdown on Twitter today over affirmative action, of course, the very policy that would have discriminated against him when he was applying to college being overturned. And as you can see, here he is cussing on the timeline, saying that the Supreme Court just angered an entire generation of young people and they're going to regret it. And then he's like shilling for Biden and all of this stuff. Let me say this in response, okay? The liberal reaction today to the affirmative action thing could not make me more mad. And this is just what I'm going to say outright. I'm going to say it. I don't care. If you are an Asian kid or a white kid for that matter, because you guys are a part of this too, right? If you are an Asian or white kid who defends affirmative action, let me just say it. You are a race traitor. You are a legitimate traitor to your race. And I'm not saying that as a, boomerang because, they always call me a race traitor, right? That's what they said after Vice. They said, you just want to suck up to white people, this and that. No, I actually mean that because you actively support policies that discriminate against yourself and you defend them and you defend them quite vehemently there on the timeline. Okay? And you are the people who will call me whitewashed, race traitor, or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. But there's Victor Xi's reaction. Want to move on here to give you a bigger picture idea of what some of the liberals here are saying. So Ketanji Brown Jackson, we briefly covered this in a video today, but I feel like I didn't fully get into it. So we'll actually read it here. This is her dissent to the affirmative action ruling. She goes out there and says, with let them eat cake obliviousness. Okay, so as we read this, keep in mind, this is supposed to be a legal dissent, right? This is supposed to be a court ruling she's dissenting to. Notice how, as we read it, she does not cite any legal or constitutional arguments because there are none. Affirmative action in itself is in pretty blatant violation of equal protection and all that. But here, let's take a listen here. So she says, with let them eat cake obliviousness, today the majority pulls the ripcord and announces color blindness for all by legal fiat. Which, yes, what a terrible thing, right? Color blindness. But deeming race irrelevant in law does not make it so in life. And having so detached itself from this country's actual past and present experiences, the court has now been lured into interfering with the crucial work that UNC and other institutions of higher learning are doing to solve America's real-world problems. So, Ketanji, that's a ridiculous argument. It's all ridiculous. But here's what I will say. You know what? Say what you will, have your opinion. Where is the basis of this in law? Okay? She's basically just saying, well, in my opinion, it should be this way. Notice how she doesn't cite the constitutional argument. She doesn't cite law that it violates or whatever. She just says, well, anecdotally, I think there's still racism in America towards black people, so that's why we need this policy. That's not a judge. That's not what a judge does, right? That's what an activist does. This is something that ought to be written in the New York Times, not written in the official records of the U.S. Supreme Court, okay? But while the Supreme Court has struck down affirmative action, you know what they have not struck down? ESG, digital currency, or the Biden presidency itself, which is why you need to protect your retirement because, folks, we obviously know what is coming. Not only is a recession on the horizon, but potentially a large-scale economic collapse, the U.S. dollar, not looking good on that front. And that's why you need to protect your retirement and economic future today with a gold or precious metals IRA from our friends over at Noble Gold Investments. This is a retirement account, except instead of being linked to stocks, which are very often connected to BlackRock, that's your standard IRA, instead a gold or precious metals IRA is backed by actual, real, physical gold and silver. And as you may know from a study of history or economics, because these things are scarce, stable assets in tough times, in times where the currency means nothing, the stocks mean nothing, everything is up in flames, including crypto. The one thing you can rely on in human history is your gold and silver. So go protect your retirement today with our friends over at Noble Gold Investments. Again, gold, precious metals, IRAs. Check them out at vincedaogold.com. vincedaogold.com. Again, that is vincedaogold.com. Protect your retirement today at vincedaogold.com. Get that IRA. Don't wait for the recession. So we continue here. No one benefits from ignorance. Because is that what judges usually appeal to? You know, you guys are just ignorant. Is that something a judge is supposed to say? Not here's the law, here's why it's correct or not incorrect. No one benefits from ignorance? Okay. Although formal race-linked barriers are gone, race still matters to the lived experiences of all Americans in innumerable ways. Okay, again, that's your opinion. Great, fine. What does that have to do with the legality in current law and current precedent? There is none. There is none. She's basically just going and writing How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. She's writing 1619. She has crapped it out on a piece of paper, and this is her formal dissent. You know, honestly, I have to say, maybe this will get me canceled. It really does sound like something an affirmative action hire would write if they were appointed to the Supreme Court. Unironically, just saying, it's true. Okay. But anyways, blah, 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 blah. And today's ruling makes things worse, not better. The best that can be said of the majority perspective is that it proceeds ostrich-like from the hope that preventing consideration of race will end racism. Okay, so apparently you're supposed to consider race to end racism, right? That obviously makes a whole lot of sense there. So there's Ketanji Brown Jackson's argument. Again, it is complete nonsense, because even if she wants to say all these things are true, oh, but the current disparities we see, this and that, it all still comes back to this. Class is still considered in college admissions. Personal adversity is still considered. And even, I will say this, and this is a part of the ruling I don't entirely agree with, but even kind of your personal racial identity, not just the race on your box, but the whole, the woke, oh, well, my racial identity has impacted me this way. They even ruled in this ruling that can still be used as a factor in admissions. So if you write a really, sad essay about how I was black and then there was so much racism against me, you can actually still technically get in on that basis. But all that this says is that the box you check when you apply to school, right, black, white, whatever, that very box on the application, that cannot be used as a factor in admissions. That's all that it says, okay? So even if you want to bring all of these arguments about generational wealth and past racial disparity, blah, 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 CRT, the same tired old arguments, which are not even true, right? The whole generational wealth argument, that's not even true, because generational wealth only lasts 3 generations. And so to say that current disparities are a product of past slavery, that literally doesn't make any sense, and it's not even financially possible. But fine, regardless, even if that is true, what does that have to still do with race? Because according to the system that Ketanji Brown Jackson is trying to defend, a rich Nigerian kid, okay, so if you're a Nigerian immigrant kid who came over and your parents are super wealthy and you've never dealt with American racism or slavery ever in your bloodline, you're not particularly poor, you do well for yourself, right? According to the affirmative action system, you are favored over, let's say, like I said earlier, the poor white kid in Appalachia who lives in a trailer. How is that fair? How does that rectify disparity? How does it do any of it? It doesn't. But what this boils down to is it's not that they want a system that, considers people's personal adversity or considers the fact that so-and-so struggled in life. It's actually the opposite of that. They don't want to consider that. They just want to say, put more black people and Hispanic people in school for the sake of it. Who cares if they're qualified? Do it and actively discriminate against the white kids and the Asian kids. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. So every single liberal argument, they keep doing the same things about affirmative action. None of them make sense. None of them are coherent. It always has to come back to simply either A, we need a certain amount of diversity quota in schools. Why? I don't know. Just because we do, right? We just need to do it. Who cares about qualification? Just put them in on the basis of their race. So that's either A, the argument for affirmative action, which is that qualification doesn't matter, or the alternative argument always falls apart because, like I said, personal adversity, what you've been through, your identity, all that stuff. You're still allowed to use that in college applications. All it says is the very box there doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, right? Which realistically, why should it matter? It shouldn't. Hey guys, Vince Dow here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dow show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dow show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is a great show. Many are saying this. So leave a like, check out our other clips, and be sure to check out the show. Yeah. God bless.